The Indian gaming industry that had heaved a sigh of relief just a few days ago has another thought coming. Now, here's the context. The Ministry of Electronics and Technology, MeitY, had released its regulations for online gaming that included self-regulatory bodies for the Indian gaming industry. But just yesterday, the Tamil Nadu Assembly's bill banning online gaming has got a nod from the governor of the state. So what happens next is that bill needs to be notified. Now, this is important because the Tamil Nadu bill essentially prohibits online gambling and online games of chance played for money or other stakes. While it specifically names rummy and poker as games of chance, the scope can go much wider. Now, last week, the centre had notified amendments to the IT rules, clearing regulations for the online gaming sector. The fresh changes require setting up of multiple self-regulatory body whose approval will be required for online games with a monetary element. But how will an absolute ban by a state government work with a central policy which is quite different? That's really the question, with the industry now wondering what lies ahead. To speak more on this, I'm joined now by Saravanan Annadurai, spokesperson of the DMK, Dhruv Garg, legal head of AIGF, that's the Gaming Federation, Jay Saita, technology and gaming lawyer, with me on the show, and I'm also speaking with Jaya Chahar, founder and CEO of TFG. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us today on the show. I'm going to direct my first question at the DMK spokesperson, Mr. Saravanan. Great to have you on the India development debate. Can you explain to us why we need a state law when there is a central policy in place?
Yeah, we need this state law because public order is a state subject. This is directly impinging upon the public order. That apart, betting and gambling is also a state subject. That is the reason why we have legislative competence. The states have legislative competence to legislate, and we have done that. The Madras High Court, which quashed the earlier amendment, which was on the same subject, was also of the opinion that the state government, we have pointed out certain infirmities. If those infirmities are cured, nothing can prevent the state government from passing a new legislation. That was the judgment given by the Madras High Court. And now, see, this is not a law against gaming. In fact, nobody can prevent gaming. What we are against is online gambling. When you are playing something on with money or with stakes or something which chance with involving element of any monetary consideration, we are saying we will ban that. The only reason is that in the last 4 years, probably or 3 years, 41 lives have been lost because of the indebtedness it created. That apart, it is an addictive one. If someone starts playing it, they're not able to come out of that. That is also another reason why we wanted to ban this, and this is directly relatable to legislative competence of the state governments. Okay. And that is why we have made this legislation, and this legislation has been passed after examination by an expert committee of retired judges and other retired bureaucrats. So it is sound in law, and we want to ensure that no person, no common man becomes prey to the predatory tactics of this online gaming companies.
I think an important distinction over here needs to be made between what the Tamil Nadu bill considers as gambling versus gaming. Because there are games that have monetary benefit as well, but the federation or the industry need not see it as gambling. Dhruv Garg, I'm going to come to you with a very, very basic question before we go into the detail of state law versus central law, etc. Is there a legal definition you're going by when you say what is gambling and what is gaming? Because there are games out there that have monetary benefit at the end of it, but you would not necessarily consider them as gambling.
Right. So, when it comes to the question is, if the question is what is the legal definition, I think over the last 60 years, correct, since 1960s, the Supreme Court on multiple occasions, or multiple high courts, including the Tamil Nadu High Court, Madras High Court, have given that definition. That definition is if the skill element predominates the chance element in the outcome of the game, it's a game of skill, correct? And that's what the self-regulatory body has to now judge. Now, this is a subjective definition, which the Supreme Court has said. What we are thinking is that there can be additional tests to ensure that nothing gets through the cracks, and there can be also objective tests, statistical based tests, which show that yes, skill has a higher role in the outcome of those games, correct? So there is a Supreme Court and High Court definition which has been established over the 60 years. There can be additional statistical tests to prove it. So I think there is no confusion over the definition of what does a game of skill means.
I'm not talking about that. As far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, they seem very clear that if you're going to make money at the end of that game, it's gambling. Am I understanding that correct, Mr. Saravanan? As far as the state policy is concerned, it's clear. If there is money involved, it's gambling.
No. It's not that. It's again chance. It's not about just money. The law is very, very clear. That is what I'm telling you. This law has been codified after getting all the opinions of the experts and the reservations. The earlier law was stuck down on the same point that you can't have a blanket ban. So that is why we have had this luxury of this expert committee and their opinion, and this law has been drafted, taking into all these considerations.
Okay. Now, Jay Saita, what is the concern as far as the industry goes? Because we are seeing reports that the Tamil Nadu law, once it is codified, once the Gazette notification, etc., comes and the details come out, will be challenged in court. Why is that?
So, Tamanna, there are many nuances involved in this. It cannot be looked at as a black and white issue, as Saravanan ji is saying, or even as Dhruv is saying. There are a lot of nuances involved. Number one, let us accept that a lot of these games, when played for money, involve certain socio-economic issues. People are losing money. There have been crimes also reported because of losses, addiction. People are not able to, there are psychological disorders also associated. So there are issues. Having said that, whatever is the law of the land should be followed by all. And the law of the land is by way of judgments, in this case, of the Supreme Court, of the various high courts, including Madras High Court, Karnataka High Court, etc. And the law says and the judgments say very clearly, once you are a game of skill, it doesn't matter whether you play it for money or not. Monetary stakes are irrelevant. It is your fundamental right to do business around games of skill, and it cannot be banned. Now, calling a game of skill as a game of chance is like calling an apple an orange by way of a legislation. You are calling an apple an orange, which a law cannot do without, overruling the premise on which the Supreme Court judgment is based. For that, there was a 2021 Madras High Court judgment which very clearly said Rummy is a game of skill. It's a constitutional right to, run a business of Rummy. You cannot ban it completely. Of course, they left it open for the state government to have a new law to regulate online Rummy, poker, etc. But they very categorically said in the judgment itself that you cannot ban it completely. It's completely arbitrary, disproportionate, illegal, unconstitutional. Now, if you want to remove that premise, the option available is to appeal to the Supreme Court, which Tamil Nadu government has already done. But it has not moved forward on that at all. It has sought adjournments on that, appeal, and it has not, tried to ask the Supreme Court to resolve the basic premise. And the reason which I suspect for that is because of politics. That law was brought in by the ADMK government, which was the previous government, and Mr. Saravanan and his party wants to show the ADMK in a bad light, saying that they brought in a bad law and we are bringing a good law. So that is why they are not moving on that appeal, and without removing that basic premise, which only Supreme Court can overrule by way of an appeal, they are trying to bring in a new law, which is, in my opinion, this new law will also fail unless the Supreme Court decides the issue first.
Yeah, you want to respond to that, Mr. Saravanan? Because, your law speaks specifically about Rummy and poker, but its scope is fairly wide. And there seems to be some element of subjectivity to decide what is a game of chance, where chance is more than skill. You're leaving it to a very small group of people to make that decision.
Yeah, see, that's what, when we are speaking about this online gambling, especially this rummy and poker, we cannot address this issue only on purely a technical view. The view of public order should also be taken into account. We are a welfare state. We are not a capitalist state where only the profits of a big corporation only matters. That's what I told you. 41 lives have been lost by suicides. So how do we address this issue? What has this big corporate companies have done for that? Nothing. They're only bothered about their profits. They're only crying hoarse about, oh, we have a right to do business. Yes, you have a right, but it is regulated. It is circumscribed by the other aspects. This is not just about deciding whether rummy is a game of skill or a game of chance. There are various other aspects to this. And when we speak about the rummy judgment of the Supreme Court, that was about a physical rummy game. A physical rummy game, it has got a lot of inbuilt problems, restrictions. If you don't have for 3 or 4 people, you will not be able to play. You can only play at a designated place. You cannot play it at any time of the day. You need 4 or 5 people to congregate. So those restrictions, those limitations were there. But in the case of online rummy, that is not there. You can do it at the convenience of any place, from your residence, from your bedroom, from your bathroom, anywhere you can play. That is why we call it
Saravanan, you are describing the internet, which has pervaded every aspect of our life. We no longer need to be physically anywhere to do many things.
See, that is
including have conversations, order food, shop, connect with people, shoot videos. You are literally describing the internet. How are you going to stop the internet?
To it. Yeah, you have made a very valid point. Yeah, you have made a very valid point. I agree. Yes, internet has made this possible. But were there these kind of suicides because they were playing rummy and losing money earlier? No. So this is a new problem. We have to address this.
Okay. I want Jaya Chahar to come in. Jaya Chahar has been listening very patiently. I want her perspective on this. Jaya Chahar, now the question over here is that, is this about, you know, as Mr. Saravanan says, companies making profit, and how is that balanced with the humanitarian question?
Yes. So, Tamanna, I'd like to bring about 3-4 things out here, right? Number one, see, as a very big economy which is growing digitally, right? And we want to be progressive. We want to be, you know, today competing with the likes of US and the UK, which are highly digitized economies, right? We want to be progressive. So let me tell you, let's follow certain best practices, right? There has to be checks and balances, which as a company, we also operate on. And that's an industry standard that every, app is supposed to be taken care of, whether it's responsible gaming, which you have to, promote, or even advertising today. Advertising is done through very responsible ways and messaging, right? Apart from that, coming on a little public order, communication, which I would like to talk about, is that today there is a Goa government that has, casinos on the sea, right? And of course, there is a support that the government gives, which is why there is a casino that exists there. Now, tomorrow, if somebody actually wishes to go and give away everything that they have in a casino, right, they can go and do it. Right. So where I'm coming from is the point of view that the idea is to educate the people and the user and create certain checks and balances, right? It's not a matter of banning something. And also, thirdly, I would like to talk about ratios, right? I personally, Tamil Nadu is very, very close to my heart. I've spent a lot of time also out there. And genuinely, I absolutely love and respect the people out there. So I would definitely say that, when you talk about the ratios in total, sir, there is a large population that today also plays responsibly. There is a, smaller ratio and percentage of people that probably want to make a quick buck and have a, issue otherwise in terms of addiction as a behavior, and probably sort to that kind of a behavior, right? For which, yes, of course, we have checks and balances, and that should be applied to every industry. I'll also like to give you a best practice norm that is followed by OTT platforms today, right? Again, they also came up with a lot of, content which was violent, or it had nudity, and, there was a lot of other things, but there are checks and balances that are being put out there as well. So as a digitized economy, the idea is not to stop the progression of people and, or even businesses for that matter. The idea is to educate the citizens and of course let them know.
Ms. Chahar, let me ask you a specific question. What are companies doing? And for example, what is your company doing to ensure things like age gating? That the right, age of people are on these sites, they don't get addicted. You have some nations in the world that have self-imposed restrictions on how much money you can put in. I mean, these are what the issues that Mr. Saravanan is describing are also very real issues. It need not be an either or. So as responsible companies, you're saying, I want to self-regulate. What are those regulations in place to ensure that some kid is not getting on this platform and misusing their time and getting addicted?
So it's very simple. Number one, you have to have that at the time when they are signing up from the beginning. There is a user journey which is out there where they have to declare their age. Apart from that, in today's time on all apps, even before you deposit the money, you're supposed to do a KYC for which you have to put out your Aadhaar card. The Aadhaar card today has every detail about you, whether from your name to your residential address to your age, right? Again, that is, is a part of KYC, and if the KYC is rejected, the user will not be allowed to even deposit the money. And I'm speaking from a fantasy point of view, right? I'm not talking about the other poker or rummy. I'm talking about fantasy point of view. But this is what we do in order to, make sure that underage kids are not playing on the platform. Apart from that, there is also KYC on withdrawal, where you do put your bank verification documents, where you put your other documents like PAN card. Right, that's again a verification that every app today takes care of. So I'm again going to repeat myself that the checks and balances have very well been put in the last 2 to 3 years, where we have made sure that these are gatekeepers, so to say, to avoid people from underage kids to play, or avoid people from putting everything they have. Even on an app today, you cannot put 25 lakhs altogether if you have, or even 1,000 rupees together if you have. So those are the checks that are in control of the apps.
I just want to get Mr. Saravanan's response to some of the points Chahar has put out, and she's talking, of course, in the context of fantasy games. We know that Tamil Nadu is very close to her heart, and there is that IPL connection as well. So you have to understand the sentiment of that. Mr. Saravanan, if there is a clear KYC in place, if you know exactly who is signing up, if there are checks and balances, what is the problem? This is exactly what the central law for online gaming says it will do. Why do you need your own law? I come back with the question I started this conversation with.
Yes.
Why do you need your own law?
Yeah. See, that's what this problem is. I don't know, any other state has this problem. But when the state is vexed with a problem, it is the duty of the government to try to sort this out. And when we have the legislative competence, and when this is becoming such a social menace, I think it is only apt, it is only right that the government, it is a moral responsibility of the government to do this. And self-regulation is really a joke. You think the corporate companies are going to look at self-regulation for their profits? Definitely not. It has never happened in the history. It will never happen in the future also.
Okay,
so
Dhruv Garg, I want you to respond to that. He says self-regulation is a joke. Everyone wants to respond, but Dhruv hasn't spoken in a while. Yes, self-regulation is a joke, says the DMK spokesperson. That's their concern. The self-regulation is not going to be enough.
Well, it's very early to say whether it's a joke or not, but fine. Let me put it how the rules are, correct? The rules have said that the self-regulatory body is not going to be run by industry players themselves. There can be one representative, but there are 7 other representatives, including child rights experts, psychologists, people who have experience in IT, policy, etc. The Minister of State for IT has very clearly said that the industry itself will not be majority stakeholder on the board of directors of such self-regulatory body. Second point, MeitY has retained the power to even de-recognize the self-regulatory body if they are not following that these rules properly, correct? So there are very stringent regulation in place. I know people will have reasons as to doubt self-regulatory body. It's too early. There are enough checks and balances. And MeitY itself has said, Ministry of Information and Technology itself has said that they will keep a close look and amend the rules if need be. I have another point, second number point, where Mr. Saravanan said that there is a moral responsibility. I'll give you an example. There are offshore illegal betting and gambling sites which are offering roulette, correct? Showing ads in Tamil Nadu on hoardings. You can see it in Chennai. We have consulted with Tamil Nadu government. We have consulted with central government on that. What happened is you ban the legitimate company, skill games company in India or in one state. people will start going to the illegitimate offshore guys who have claimed that they take $12 billion out of the country. Correct, ma'am? Now the question is what this act is silent on that. And illegal offshore betting and gambling has been banned under the state law of Tamil Nadu for ages, but we still see people playing in it. It's active in all the states. What is being done, we don't know, and that's the much harder sort of a truth in that sense. So this is my view. I think it's too early on. Let's give it time and let's ask the central government at the right time what they are doing on this issue.
Okay, now my question is what happens when there is a central government rule and a state government rule? Karnataka wants to do their own thing. That was pushed out by their High Court. I'm going to just get responses one by one before I get Mr. Saravanan to, answer them, since it's 3 versus 1 on this debate. Yes, Jay Saita.
Yeah, so I want to say on your pointed question on if center has some rules and state has their own law, what happens? So the clear answer to that is the Supreme Court will decide who has the competence, and that is how our constitution is. Who has the legislative competence? The matter is already pending. The appeals which I talked about, which have been filed in the Supreme Court. So that is something which will decide who has the competence, center versus state. Now, the other thing, out of all of this, the only solution that I see is, which Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav, the IT minister, also spoke on the floor of parliament, is that there has to be a central legislation, a central law to regulate online gaming after taking everybody on board, be it Tamil Nadu, be it all the states, be it industry, be it users, be it other experts. And that process, the IT ministry has already started. So what we need, because as the other speakers also pointed out, state-wise in a piecemeal manner, this cannot be done. A lot of these sites transgress even national boundaries, are offshore, are in other locations. Most of these sites are outside Tamil Nadu.
How you would implement a state ban, frankly? When
Correct.
everything is digitally connected, how will you even implement a
Absolutely.
state ban? How are you going
Absolutely.
to stop a user in Tamil Nadu from accessing what can be used in other states? It just seems like a bureaucratic nightmare.
And Tamanna, just one more minute, one more point, small point. What Mr. Saravanan and DMK can say whatever they like, but I think it's ultimately about politics. This is one of the biggest issues that is going on in Tamil Nadu. And they, as I said in the beginning, they want to outdo the other parties, ADMK, and say that they are bringing a better law, which they also, I think Mr. Saravanan, maybe he'll agree or not, is legally not tenable. So what they are trying to do.
I don't think he is agreeing with you. I don't think he is agreeing with you. Jaya Chahar wants to come in. Yes.
It's merely
yes,
political posturing, and if they look at it rationally, I mean, regulation is the solution along with center.
No, but is self-regulation going to be enough? And the fact is that constitutionally they have a right. They have a right to make laws for gambling. But how does that work in the day and age of the internet? This is a political problem, this is a policy problem, this is a tech problem. Yes, Jaya Chahar.
Also says
Can we just hear Jaya, please? Yes.
I would just like to tell you one thing, that today, if anybody, and I'm talking even 10-year-old kids today, if they wish to play, any game, they just download a VPN and everything is accessible to you, right? So what do you do? Again, I'm going to come back to my point of stating that we need to be educating the citizens, not stopping them from something. Today, there's alcohol and there's tobacco all around our country, right? But we educate that you're not supposed to smoke, you're not supposed to drink, and this is injurious to your health, right? So there are checks and balances being followed there, right?
Jaya Chahar, are you equating gaming with vices like alcohol and tobacco, because there are very, very stringent laws on their advertising? They are taxed at very different levels.
And I'm talking about gambling, to be honest. I'm not talking like Dhruv spoke about the offshore betting and gambling sites. Right? Okay. I'm talking about that. So if you actually stop someone from doing anything which is fair, which is gaming in general, right? They will, go ahead and probably fall prey to the betting sites and the gambling sites which are not even being stopped. So the point is to let legitimate companies actually do the business when it comes to the business front, right? Okay. And educate the citizens and give them the checks and balances that are required.
All right. So since we've heard everyone, Mr. Saravanan, I'll give you a chance to respond.
Yes.
It seems like the central law has the same purpose as the state law has as well. It's not like the central law wants to encourage indiscriminate gaming and addiction, etc. They're just taking a more pragmatic view of how this industry is working. This industry is already growing at close to 40% per year. You cannot stop the tide by wishing it away.
See, that's what we are not trying to stop the tide. We are just trying to stall the polluting water, the water that pollutes. We have mechanisms for that. The first and foremost, they said, oh, it's like everywhere. How can you just ban it in Tamil Nadu? I think that is a very juvenile argument, because the kind of technological advances we have, we can impose region-specific distractions, region-specific restrictions. They say, oh, you can go use a VPN.
It's a serious question, Mr. Saravanan. I'm sorry if you found it juvenile. But, Jaya has just described how a 10-year-old can use a VPN and access any site anywhere.
I'm coming to it. I'm coming to that point. See, the problem is this. It's not something which is undoable. It is a child's play. Restricting an app or restricting some content for a specific region is child's play in today's technological development. Why am I talking about this is, you're saying about, oh, you can have a VPN. But do you know the cost of a VPN? Any VPN will have to pay a subscription. See, I am saying if someone is willing to do that, let them do that. We are not bothered about the exceptions, but we are bothered about the common man who just has straight away direct access. The man from the lower middle class who earns 20,000, 25,000 per month. Will he be paying 8,000 per year to bypass the state-specific laws? And when there are specific safeguards, when there is a specific penal clause, that will act as a deterrent. That is what we are aiming at.
Okay.
And this is one thing. The other thing is, when we are speaking that billion-dollar money is going away, why don't we? You can. We are only restricting certain games which are very addictive. So this is not a blanket ban on gaming. So that is a misnomer.
Who is going to decide which games are addictive and which is not? Who will decide?
See,
and are the criterion clear?
Yeah, that's a very valid question. See, that's what the Tamil Nadu Police Department have called for a meeting of all the stakeholders. First to decide what are all, how to go about this law, what are all the games that has to be decided. See,
Tamil Nadu Police will implement this.
No, not Tamil Nadu Police. This is just the initial meeting. The rules framed by the law gives the authority to the bureaucrats, to the executive, so that they will decide what are all.
Okay, let's hope.
Same logic.
Let's hope bureaucracy is the best route, and let's see how the Tamil Nadu story moves ahead. But as we wrap this discussion, just a few facts and figures. India has become one of the top 5 mobile gaming markets in the world right now. The growth rate is close to 38% a year. There are 400 gaming companies in this country, about 420 million online gamers, ranked only second to China. The flood is already here. What we need to do to direct it is the next big question. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us on the debate this evening.
Thank you.